Hi, committee. We are back. Councillor Farrell oh, wait a second. We need to do roll call first.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Sutherland.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Woolley.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Carra.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Davison.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Farkas.
Farkas here.
Thank you. Councillor Farrell.
Here.
Thank you. Deputy Chair Keating.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Nenshi.
Here.
And Chair Gondek is here in person.
Thank you very much. With that, Councillor Farrell, can I ask you to move that we rise and report, please?
I'll move that. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerks, are we good with consent on that? Okay. All right. Seeing no one dissenting from that, Councillor Keating, I understand you would like to bring some recommendations.
Yes, we should see the rise and report on the screen first.
Yes, and it's got your recommendations there on the rise and report.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I wanted, was to make sure it was up there and give everyone a chance to read it before we vote on it.
Okay.
Chair, it's Councillor Davison. Would you be able to read that out? We can't seem to get onto Microsoft Teams here.
Absolutely, I can. It says, with that respect to report GC 2020-1445, the following be approved. That committee received the closed meeting presentation for the corporate record. Requests that Mr. Fairbairn make a written request to senior administration at the Office of the Minister of Transportation.
Where do you want to go?
Can we mute everybody, please? All right, I think we're muted. I will go back and start point number 2. It is to request that Mr. Fairbairn make a written request to senior administration at the Office of the Minister of Transportation of the Government of Alberta for confidential access to the consultant's report to facilitate a better understanding of the concerns raised by the ministry. And the last point is direct that the closed meeting presentation and discussions be held confidential pursuant to sections 21, disclosure harmful to intergovernmental relations, 23, local public body confidences, 24, advice from officials, 25, disclosure harmful to economic and other interests of a public body, and 27, privilege information of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, to be reviewed 2030, January 1st. And I know there's a lot there. Does anybody need us to repeat that? All right, I've got a question from Councillor Farkas on this.
Thanks. Just on number 1, what is the presentation that was from the closed meeting? I don't recall receiving any distribution, or is that just technical?
That was what was displayed through the chair in closed meeting on Teams.
Just to be clear, if you'll allow me, Chair, that's just the letter that we saw with the highlighting. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay. Councillor Keating?
Well, thank you, Chair. I mean, before we vote on this, I think there needs to be an explanation of number 2. The rest is fairly straightforward. But we've heard in public, and we've heard a number of things about this report by the consultant prepared by the province. And it's been stated that it should not be shared publicly, and that's, in my view, that's 100% true. There are commercially sensitive information in all of these reports, especially when you're out for an RFP on 2 different portions of the Green Line. Those are the things that are meant for the consultants and the teams, not meant for elected officials or for the public. But we should be able to say, if you're true partners in this, working together and addressing all the current concerns, the definition that has come up and many times is in detail. And obviously, we have very, very different views of what in detail means, both on the city side and the provincial side. But it should be stated that the report with its details should be ably shared on a confidential matter between the Green Line team or the Technical Risk Committee or the Management Board and the provincial organizations as we do a go forward to make sure that all concerns have been addressed in a responsible and professional manner. That's all I have for that, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Keating. Councillor Keating, you have something further, right?
No, that we haven't voted on this rise and report. I was thinking after this was all done. Because do we not vote on the rise and reports and then go on to
something on the floor? Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing. I'll shut up now.
I'm going to get clarification from clerks, but I believe that if we have any questions related to this item, we should ask them now and then we vote. That's correct? Okay.
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. So Councillor Keating, if you have questions or comments, please feel free. It wasn't clear earlier, so I will give you that opportunity now.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, because I think that's crucial, and I thought I was just talking about the number 2, but I will go into a few questions. In my 10 years as an elected official, I have prided myself, and I would hope that all elected officials would do this the same on integrity and honesty in any comments I've made. I've tried to make all of my statements factual based, missing political or emotional statements, simply that this is where we're at and this is the truth. So I do have a number of questions for Mr. Thompson. So let's start off with the reason why number 2 is up there. It has been stated by the Alberta government that the city has agreed not to make the consultant's report public, which I don't think was the question that was asked in the original or the statement that was asked in the original. That was simply an answer to a different question. But does the city have any documentation or recollection verbally that they have agreed with the provincial government not to share this document public? This is the consultant's report.
Thanks very much, Your Worship, Chair. Councillor Keating, number 2, we agree we should ask the province for the report to be shared with the team confidentially. We've asked for the report before and appreciate having this in writing from Mr. Fairbairn.
Okay, so that answers the reasons why we're asking for it. My question was, do you or your team or anyone at the city have anything in written form or verbally that says you agreed with the province not to make this report publicly?
No, through the chair, no, but we agree that the report likely contains commercially confidential information, so we would like it shared with administration. Administration to administration would be the request in number 2.
Yeah, and I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. The statement was out there that you actually agreed not to make it public, and I thought that was kind of a redundant statement because obviously it shouldn't be public, but you have asked for it to be shared and it has not been shared with you. So let's go to the next one. We've heard out there that there's been a public statement about the Green Line, or not a public statement, but a statement by some city staff. So let's look at the project in totality. It's a $4.9 billion project. And right now it is stage 1 is broken into 3 segments. And segment 1 is from Elbow River to Shepherd, and that's the portion or the segment of stage 1 that is out for RFP at this point, and that we feel we're prepared to move ahead on. Segment 2A is from the Elbow River to Eau Claire, and that was in June of 15th of 2020, where it came back and said, could you have a little look at this segment, see if it could be better? There may be some tweaks on it, but really, in essence, it wasn't that the alignment in the segment wasn't that great, but let's look at it and let's come out in late 21 ready for the possibility of going to RFP. And then we have segment 2B, which is from Eau Claire to 16th. And on those 17 recommendations that were placed out in June 15th of 2020, this segment was said goes from Eau Claire to 16th. And I believe it was saying, don't proceed with this segment until segment 1 is in the ground and well on its way. You've done enough construction to identify all the risks, so we know exactly how much that portion is going to cost. And then 2A would come out. You would get in the ground. This is the complicated section, which is the tunneling and a number of those aspects where the other two sections, 1 and 2B, are at grade, what we've been doing for decades, and have a solid idea of how much it will cost and what the work would be on those. The complicated section in 2A, I've often heard the team say the risks are the unknown risks. And you have to, in many cases, actually take the dirt out and identify what's underneath to really identify all of the solid risks, or the unknowns. I guess that's what the deep risks are, the unknown unknowns. So 2A has to be in the ground, has to be opened up, identified all of the risks, even before we begin to consider going on to 2B. Am I correct in that description?
That's right. Through the chair, Councillor Keating, that's exactly the strategy that Council approved on June 15th, was that we would not start construction of segment 2B until we've materially demonstrated that the cost for segment 2A and segment 1 could be delivered. And so exactly correct, we would not start construction of segment 2B until we were out of the ground and we had addressed any of those unknown unknowns.
Thank you. I mean, and to me, that makes an absolutely solid, credible plan of action because, as it stated, you're tunneling through the core. You would hate to run into a difficulty, but doing it in this manner, segment 1, segment 2A, you're solidly understanding the unknown unknowns and going forward before the rest of the project. But you're delivering a great LRT project from Eau Claire to Shepherd, and then we can move on over the river and going north. But the question I have for you, it has been stated publicly that a city staff member has reported to the provincial government. So are you aware of any city staff at any time that we do not have enough money to get to downtown if we're just looking at segment 1?
No, Councillor Keating, thanks for the question. We believe we have sufficient money to go from sufficient funding from Shepherd to downtown. And as we've discussed, the strategy was that we would not cross the river until we were out of the ground on the downtown element to make sure that there were no unknown unknowns. And we've looked at a number of scenarios, but we do believe we have funding from downtown to the south.
Okay. So then let's look at the next one because, it's critical to understand where we're going and what we've done. And, in essence, we're already delayed on construction of the LRT project simply because we've gone over a number of renditions, made some critical and important changes to make sure we're staying on track and we'll be able to fund it within a certain amount. You've built in extremely healthy conditions, and I believe you reported contingencies, sorry. You've reported that you've structured it in such a way that 80% of the time, if I'm correct, that you will be on budget and on time in the manner in which you're going forward. So it has been stated that the city has not put forward a credible option to get from the downtown to Shepherd or even farther north, but we'll separate those two. Is that your belief, and is that the belief of the Technical Risk Committee? And even with the new management board that's coming on in January, we can't ask what their belief is, but do you believe we have never put forward a credible option to build the LRT?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Keating. We believe we have put forward a credible plan to build the LRT from Shepherd to the downtown, and from the downtown to ensure that we can deliver that within the funding that we have available. So we do believe in the work that the team has done and the diligence that the team has done.
Okay. So we're now presently on segment 1, which is out for RFP. We put a pause on that so that we can address the province's concern. Hopefully we'll be able to move forward with that once we see the data and be able to honestly talk about all the documentation and all the research the city has done. We also have an RFP out for vehicles. Should that one be paused or should that one continue, because we have to understand where we're going?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Keating. So as we've indicated in the public, and as I indicated this afternoon, we have paused our procurement for segment 1. That's to allow us the time and space to have the discussion with the province and ensure that we're addressing any of the concerns that they've raised. So we appreciate that we've got a collaborative working relationship with them right now, and we're focused on addressing those concerns and carrying forward with the project.
So now, seeing that we delayed the start of the project to really address a number of things, and in reality, the RFP for segment 1 was to be out, I believe, even last year in 19, but I could be mistaken there. But we delayed that after a couple other delays to make sure that we are exactly doing the best we can for the service and the residents of Calgary. This isn't an engineering project, it's a city shaping project, so there's a number of aspects that have to be taken into account. But in your mind or in your belief, has this been politically driven by the city elected officials, or have we done a number of delays and a number of studies to make sure that we're doing the best project we can? And are the timelines stated to you that they're arbitrary, or the timelines have shifted because we want to make sure we're doing the best we can?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Keating. We believe we've done good work as a team. We're very I believe in the work that the team has done and really value all of the time that's been put into this project, not only from the team, but also from the citizens and the stakeholders in the area. I believe, not in just the area, across the city, I believe in the work that we have done. Again, the strategy that we put forward that Council approved on June 15th was to start segment 1. Again, that was the area where we have acquired the majority of the land. We've done enabling works, including moving to landfills and a number of utilities to prepare that 16 kilometers for construction. And so we saw nothing in the way to start that work. And so we felt it was a prudent approach to put a contract out on the street to start that work. And that is why we've got the strategy for segment 1. Segment 2A, as you had brought up, we've been working with landowners and in the downtown area and the Beltline, and we continue to work with them. We understood that would take longer to complete those negotiations and that work around the design of the LRT and the Beltline and then the downtown. And so that's why our strategy that we had was that we would start segment 1 because it's ready to go right now. Segment 2B or 2A, we would work on that, and we would develop a procurement and not release it to the market until we had completed the cost estimates associated with it to confirm that we were comfortable moving forward with it. We believe that we have more than sufficient funding to go from Shepherd into the downtown.
Okay. So can you explain to me a little bit, because we've talked about, and I get the initials all wrong, but it's a DB, which is design build. Am I correct?
DBF, so it's a design build finance.
Okay, so we've agreed that the corporation that is successful in the tenders will be a DBF, which is design build finance. Now, my understanding of the DB is design build. So do you get into the fine details of what everything should look like at the beginning of the RFP? Or do you do some of that during the RFP and you actually do some of that after the RFP? Because now you're talking about the proponent, the successful proponent designing and building, but I'm guessing you would go through a huge amount of rigor through all of those stages to make sure that you're 100% or as close as you can to having a successful project. But a lot of the detailed designs are really done after the fact. Is that correct?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Keating. So yes, we start with a plan, and then we put that out to three contractors, three proponents, consortium. They do design work on that. They give us pricing. We meet over a period of 8 to 10 months reviewing the design development that they have going on, making sure that it's meeting the requirements for the city. They're evaluating it against pricing. We have a number of commercially confidential meetings where we evaluate that with them. And then those three proponents would submit a price and their design at the time. We evaluate those designs and the pricing. We would pick a proponent and then move forward. They would finalize the design, all of the details, and be responsible for the construction of that project.
Great. So I understand that you come up with a plan and you say, here's what we're thinking, and then through that exhaustive RFP and the RFQ and all of that, then you get into finer details of design. And once it's awarded, then you get into the final details of the design of components of of the RFP. So that's fabulous because it has been stated that we haven't done detailed design. Well, technically you don't do detailed design. You do it as you go because that's what DEBF actually means. But Chair, I think that's all I have at this point. In my mind, in my opinion, we have a absolutely credible project ready to go. And what's missing is three partners willing to finance it and continue work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Keating. I don't see anybody else in the queue. So with the recommendations before us, committee, could you please go to your e-scribe to vote?
Councillor Craw?
Yeah, sorry, I was not on e-scribe. I apologize. My vote is yes.
Thank you. Councillor Davison?
Yes.
Councillor Sutherland?
Yes.
Mayor Nenshi?
Yes.
Councillor Woolley?
Yes.
We have all the votes.
Thank you very much. That item has passed. Thank you very much, committee.